This will be part 3 of my Outlander Season 7 Episode 12 review titled Carnal Knowledge. As always, if you are looking to avoid spoilers from the books or the TV show, please do keep on scrolling. So by this point, William is angry, alone, drunk, wandering down the street, just filled with rage, and he wanders past Arabella, one of my favorite characters. This is someone I was unsure whether or not they were going to introduce or just bypass this story, but I'm actually very excited for them to actually see this one through, although it is very sad, and I will make a character profile for Jane, aka Arabella, in a separate video. But he is very angry, very drunk, not interested in dealing with any of his feelings, and she offers him a way out of that by inviting him inside. And we have a very Pride and Prejudice Bridgerton hand-holding scene here. And I also think that this scene for me, and choosing to highlight a shot like this, is a very smart way cinematically to almost subtly inform how one decision that you make in a snap judgment, taking the hand of someone and following them, can really change the entire trajectory of your life. And with William, this is very true for him meeting Jane here. There's a lot that's going to change for him. He learns a lot of lessons from her. And so just this simple hand touch and him agreeing to walk with her really does change a lot for William. And I think that this is a very subtle way to kind of touch upon that. At least to me it was. Now, Jane is very casual when they get inside and friendly, and William is just angry. He's just angry, and so I don't think he ever really intends to do anything, but he's in this situation now with her, and she's trying to loosen him up and appease him as best she can, but he has all this anger and he doesn't know where to put it. And her joking with him, he internalizes it, I think, far more than she would ever be able to expect. And so while she's being light and airy and he wants to be so serious, it ends up bubbling over, and he ends up swiping her cup away and getting wine all over her dress and angering her, and then also drunkenly acting in a way that he should not have. And so rightfully, their first meeting, she is very angry and kicks him out of the room. And William, as a result of that, leaves a very bitter taste in her mouth, and to her is just another guy who comes in and mistreats her in a way that she doesn't frankly deserve. And then we cut to Jamie, who has left Lord John in the woods to seek out Captain Morgan of Morgan's Rifles, who you'll remember he fought with at Ticonderoga. And this letter is one that they previewed in the episode preview. I wasn't sure if this was going to be the letter that Lord John received, or if this was going to be a letter that Jamie hands over to the Continentals, but confirmed that that's what it is in this scene here. And in the show, Jamie explains that while he was in France, which is, he very subtly hinted, him and Michael Fraser bringing Joni over to France prior to him taking the boat back over to America, he was, reaching out to some old friends of his in France from season 2 and mustering up some money for the Continental Army and the American cause of the war. Captain Morgan then asks Jamie if he has time to meet someone and introduces him to no one other than George Washington. And what I loved in the books was that Jamie meets all of these people in these monumental battles and scenes that he has, and Claire has explained to him who they are in terms of American history. And so he knows that George Washington becomes a president, and that he's a very, very big deal. And so in the books we get kind of an internal thought of his, of how he knows more about these people than they know about themselves, given the vantage point that Claire has researched and learned about American history. And that's a very crazy thing to wrap your brain around, and especially for someone like Jamie, who is so educated but does not have the ability to time travel. It's as though he has, because Claire has passed so much knowledge on to him about these people and prominent figures in history. Now in this scene, George Washington extends a invitation to Jamie to become a general in a regiment, and an important part of Jamie's decision to say yes that the show hasn't touched upon yet is that when you are appointed a general, you have the ability to resign. And so Jamie agrees with the understanding that in this position, he would have the option to resign at any point, whereas previous roles that he's been in, he cannot. So that is a big reason why he agrees to take him up on his offer here. Now, Rachel and Ian are traveling back towards Philadelphia, and they see William Ransom helping the caravan of people who are exiting Philadelphia. And Rachel's very eager to see him, and in the books, Ian kind of stays back in the woods and lets Rachel talk to him first without him. They changed that a little in the show, but this is the only moment we're going to see William smile in this episode, and it's because he cares for Rachel so dearly. So you can imagine that when she breaks the news to him that her and Ian are to be married, that's yet another part of his life that is just falling apart for him at this point. He almost can't believe that another thing is going wrong, and I love his face in this scene where it's just complete, like, really? Ian? And he punches Ian in the face because, once again, his Fraser anger is coming out full swing. And when Ian is asking, like, why would you do that to me? He admits to Ian that he knows now that Jamie is his father and that Ian is yet another person he trusted that lied to him about it. And like I mentioned before, Ian is then another person to tell him how lucky he is that Jamie is his father and an honorable man and all these things that William is resigned to feel towards Jamie. And then the salt in the wound is Rachel Hunter saying that she kind of inferred that they were related just because of the resemblance. So really everyone was in on this joke except William, and it just hurts him so much to hear it. Then obviously we see how that plays out, and William has young Ian taken by the Redcoats for assaulting an officer. When Ian's out of the picture, I think William at this point just is like, I have nothing to lose, and Rachel Hunter slaps him, and then he chooses that time to give her a kiss, and just everything he's doing at this point is just he's out of his mind. And I think Charles did another great job of not having the dialogue to explain how out of his mind he is. His body language and behavior in this scene is a perfect way to kind of show the viewer, like, he's not in his right mind right now. Which is why I love this shot here, because again, everyone has left him. He's alone with his own thoughts and he has to confront them, and he just doesn't even know where to start. Back in the city, we can see that everyone is starting to make their exit, and an officer stops by 17 Chestnut Street to look for Lord John. Again, I've touched upon how this is different from the books because Jenny Murray is at the house at this point, so she's kind of involved in this whole storyline, but we learn from Mrs. Figg that Lord John's commission has been reinstated, and so they're looking for him because he was supposed to report to General Clinton and did not this morning. So him being missing is starting to become a problem, because as the British Army leaves and vacates the city, and they are in a home of a British officer basically, and a lord, and the the rebels are starting to enter the city, their home is one that they would attack. And so without knowing the whereabouts of Lord John at this point, Jamie not being around and Claire being alone in this house, still, as far as everyone in the city is concerned, as Lady John Grey, she's starting to realize that now's the time where she could potentially panic, that she doesn't know where anyone is and that Lord John is needed. Which is when we see that Corporal Woodbine has left Lord John with Smith, who he recognizes from back in London and labels as someone who basically abandoned the Royal Army and became a rebel. So Lord John is leveraging anything he can at this point to make sure that he uses his smarts to get out of this predicament that he finds himself in. He learns he's being accused of being a spy and also punished for being related to Charles Grey, who committed some really heinous crimes, and so he's trying to get the whole story here to understand what they could potentially be charging him for and what they plan to do with him. When Smith then says to him, well, we kind of should be curious of you because you were conversing with Jamie Fraser That's when Lord John realizes that this is a bigger tangled web than he has realized. Come back for part 4.